My principal tore my SAT answer sheet in half in front of 40 students and told me my future was over because I was dating his daughter. The sound of paper ripping was strangely loud. Louder than the buzzing fluorescent lights. Louder than the pencils scratching across the desks. For half a second, nobody moved. Then the two halves of my answer sheet slipped from his hands and fluttered onto the gym floor. 4 months of studying.
Gone.
I had spent every morning before school and nearly every night at the kitchen counter preparing for that test. Timed reading sections, math drills, practice exams, stacks of books whose spines had started splitting from being opened so many times. My wrist had ached from filling in bubbles. I'd sacrificed weekends, sleep, almost everything, because this wasn't just another test. My SAT score could determine whether I got the scholarship I'd been working towards since freshman year. And now my principal was standing over me like he'd just erased my entire future. "You're finished."
His voice was calm. Too calm.
Like he'd rehearsed those words. I looked up at him. What did I do? My voice came out smaller than I expected. He stared down at me. "You know exactly what you did." Then he pointed toward the gym doors. "Get out." I looked around. 40 students were staring. Some had their pencils frozen above their answer sheets. Others were openly watching. 2 rows ahead, Nora had turned completely around in her seat. Her face had gone white. Her hair was pulled into the tight braid she always wore whenever she was nervous. Her father was the principal, and she was my girlfriend. That was the real reason. I knew it. He knew it. And judging by the way Nora looked at him, she knew it too. "I didn't do anything," I said. "You're compromising the integrity of this exam." He said it loudly enough for everyone to hear. The proctor stood near the scoreboard with her clipboard hanging loosely from one hand. She looked like she wanted to say something, but she didn't. Her eyes dropped. My stomach twisted. I looked down at the floor. My answer sheet was lying there in 2 pieces. 4 months of work, reduced to scraps of paper beside my sneakers.
Out. Now.
My legs felt strangely disconnected from the rest of me when I stood. I picked up my backpack. Nora started to say my name. Her father stepped between us. "Eyes on your own test." She flinched. I walked toward the doors. Every footstep echoed across the gym. Then the doors shut behind me, and suddenly I was alone. The hallway felt colder than it should have. I stood there staring at the trophy case across from me, trying to understand what had just happened. My phone buzzed.
"Nora, I'm so sorry."
I stared at the message, then shoved the phone into my pocket. Outside, the morning was painfully normal. Cars were waiting along the curb. Parents were talking. Students were laughing as they walked toward the parking lot. Nobody outside knew that I'd just watched my future get ripped in half. A junior from the track team named Theo came through the doors a few seconds later. His eyes were wide. "Man." He shook his head. "That was insane." "What? What did you even do?" "Nothing. He just walked in and shredded your test." "I know. Everybody saw it." Theo looked back toward the gym. "He didn't even give you a reason." "He said I compromised the exam." "Doing what?" I didn't answer. Because I didn't know. I had been sitting there filling in bubbles. That's it. Then another door opened. 2 girls from my chemistry class stepped into the hallway, whispering to each other. One looked at me, then immediately looked away. It was already spreading. By lunch, everyone would know. The principal had thrown me out of the SAT. Theo adjusted his backpack. My mom's an attorney. I looked at him. What? I mean it. You should talk to her. I don't know. This can't be legal. He pulled out his phone. He can't just destroy your test because he doesn't like you. I almost laughed. He's the principal. So, who do you think they're going to believe? Before Theo could answer, the gym doors opened again. Nora stepped out. Her father stood behind her, watching. She walked toward me anyway. I have to go back and finish. Her voice was barely above a whisper. But we're going to fix this.
How?
I don't know yet. She looked over her shoulder. Her father called her name. Sharp, impatient. She reached for my hand, squeezed it once. Just trust me. Then she went back inside.
The door closed.
And I realized something. This wasn't over. By lunchtime, the story had spread through the entire school. Conversation stopped when I walked into the cafeteria. People stared, then looked away. I bought a bag of pretzels I didn't even want and sat near the windows. Theo dropped into the seat across from me. Everybody's talking. Great.
No.
Seriously. They're angry. He leaned closer. Priya Nair was sitting right behind you. I looked up. What did she say? She says your answer sheet was completely clean. He pulled out his phone. No notes. Nothing written on your arm. Nothing under your desk. He turned the screen toward me. A group chat was exploding with messages. That was messed up. He can't do that. I saw the whole thing. Why did he even walk in? I pushed the phone away. It doesn't matter. It does matter. He's the principal. Theo shook his head. Not if people saw what happened. Across the cafeteria, Nora walked in. Her eyes found mine. Then her father entered behind her. She immediately looked away. Theo followed my gaze. He's been shadowing her all day. He thinks I'm going to ruin her life. You've got a 4.0. He paused. And you work 2 jobs. Doesn't matter. What's his actual problem? I didn't answer. Because I knew. He didn't think I was good enough for his daughter. And he'd made that clear ever since Nora and I started dating 7 months earlier. But before today, he'd only been cold. Now he'd crossed a line. The bell rang. Students began leaving. Nora looked at me one last time. Her father put a hand on her shoulder and guided her away. She looked small next to him. I hated that. The rest of the day crawled. Teachers asked if I was okay. I lied. I'm fine. I wasn't. Every hallway felt like a courtroom. Every whisper sounded like another accusation. Then, near the lockers, a sophomore I'd never spoken to stopped me. That was messed up. I didn't know what to say. So I nodded. My phone buzzed again.
Nora.
Meet me in the library after school. I typed. Your dad won't let you. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Then appeared again. I'll find a way. And she did. The library was almost empty. Nora was waiting in the back corner. Her eyes were red. He's in a meeting with the superintendent. She pulled a folded piece of paper from her backpack. I've got maybe 20 minutes. She slid it toward me. I wrote down everything. I unfolded it. Her handwriting filled the page. The exact time her father entered. The exact words he used. What happened when he tore my answer sheet. How the proctor tried to intervene. How he stopped her. Everything. At the bottom was her signature. I looked up. What are you going to do with this? I don't know. She swallowed. But you need proof. Then she lowered her voice. He went through my phone at lunch. My chest tightened. He knows I texted you. What did he say? She looked down. He said if I keep seeing you, he'll make sure I never get into a decent school. She looked back at me. And he'll make sure you don't either. The library suddenly felt much smaller. He can't do that. He thinks he can. She reached across the table. Her hand covered mine. But he's wrong. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she pulled away. I have to go. She gathered her things. He'll be looking for me. She walked toward the door. Before leaving, she turned. I'm not letting him do this to you. Then she disappeared. I sat there alone, holding her statement, reading it twice, then a third time. And for the first time since the gym, something inside me changed. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was ready. Theo's mother lived 4 blocks away. I texted him, I'll come over. His mother, Miss Okafor, was already waiting at the kitchen table when I arrived. Laptop open. Legal pad ready. She listened to everything. She stopped me twice to confirm exact wording. When I finished, she leaned back. Do you have witnesses? I handed her Nora's statement. She read it slowly. This is his daughter. I know. That complicates things. But it also makes it harder for him to claim she has a reason to lie. Miss Okafor nodded. Exactly. She tapped her pen against the table. You were denied the chance to complete a standardized test under a false accusation. So what do I do? File a formal complaint. She turned to a fresh page. Get every witness statement you can. How long will the district take? 10 business days to respond. And if they don't, we escalate. I looked at her. What if they take his side? Her expression hardened. Then we push harder. She paused. But understand something. What's that? He'll fight. She leaned forward. He'll attack your character, your motives, your relationship with his daughter. The room went quiet. It's going to get ugly. I thought about Nora, her statement, her red-rimmed eyes, the way she'd squeezed my hand before leaving. Then I thought about the students who had seen everything.
Priya, Theo,
Mr. Alvarez. People who were already willing to speak. I'm ready. Miss Okafor nodded. Then we start tonight. And she was right. Because when I got home, my phone was already filling with messages. 3 people wanted to give statements. Then another. Then another. And then Bianca sent me something that changed everything. A screenshot. An email chain from 3 years earlier. Her brother's name was at the top. The principal had accused him of cheating. No proof. No evidence. Just an accusation. The subject line read, Suspension Appeal. Bianca's message appeared underneath. He did the same thing to my brother. I stared at the screen, then at the stack of papers on my desk. And suddenly, my SAT wasn't just about me anymore. There was a pattern. And if I was going to fight him, I needed to prove it. The next morning, the principal was standing outside the school entrance like nothing had happened. He smiled at freshmen, shook hands with teachers, nodded at parents. Then he saw me. The smile remained,
but his eyes changed. Cold.
Still. I walked past him without saying a word. I could feel him watching me until I turned the corner. First period was AP Calculus. Ms. Ferraro handed back our tests. When she reached my desk, she paused. "Can I see you after class?" I nodded. When everyone else left, she closed the classroom door. "I heard about the SAT." I stared at the floor.
"Yeah."
"I also heard you might be filing a complaint." I didn't answer. She opened a drawer and pulled out a folded sheet of paper. "I wrote this last night." She handed it to me. "It's addressed to the district." I unfolded it. She had described me as one of the most honest students she'd taught in 10 years.
"You don't have to use it," she said.
"But I wanted you to have it." My throat tightened. "Thank you." She smiled. "Don't let anyone convince you that standing up for yourself is wrong." By lunch, more students were approaching me. A senior named Diego told me he'd seen the principal pull something similar 2 years earlier. "Different excuse," he said. "Same result." What happened to the kid? He couldn't retake the test in time. Missed his application deadline. Diego shook his head. Ended up at community college. Why didn't anyone say anything? He looked at me. Because he's the principal. Then he lowered his voice. But people are talking now. After school, 15 students met in the library.
Priya,
Bianca, Diego,
Theo,
and others. They sat in a loose circle. Priya opened a notebook. "We've been talking." Bianca held up her phone. "There are at least 9 incidents." 9. In 4 years. People started sharing stories. Students accused of things they didn't do. Students threatened with bad recommendations. Students pulled from honors classes. Students who were too afraid to complain. And suddenly I understood. The principal hadn't been protecting the school. He'd been protecting himself. Priya looked at me. "Why are you doing this?" I asked. The room went quiet. Bianca answered. "Because it could have been any of us." One by one, they handed me statements. Some handwritten, some typed. 13 statements by the time I left. 3 more students promised theirs the next morning. I photographed the entire stack and sent it to Miss Okafor. Her response came less than a minute later. "This changes everything. Meet me tomorrow." That night, I sat at my desk reading every statement. Again and again. Priya's account matched Nora's. Mr. Alvarez confirmed I'd never been flagged for academic dishonesty. Ms. Ferraro's letter described my character. Bianca's evidence showed the principal had done this before. I opened a blank document and wrote my own account. Every word, every movement, every detail. By the time I finished, it was after midnight. My eyes burned. I saved the document, backed it up twice, then stared at the screen. For the first time, I thought, maybe we can actually beat him. The next morning, Miss Okafor met me in the parking lot. She handed me a 3-page complaint. "This is ready." I read the first page, then the second, then the third. It wasn't just about my SAT anymore. She had included the other students, the previous incidents, the witnesses, the pattern. What if he retaliates?
"He will."
She said it casually, not publicly, but he'll try. I signed. She placed the complaint into a manila envelope, then drove straight to the district office. By 3rd period, the intercom crackled. The principal's voice filled every classroom. "All students and staff report to the gymnasium for a mandatory assembly." Theo looked at me. This is about you. We walked into the gym. The same gym. The same bleachers. The same scoreboard. The same floor where my answer sheet had landed in 2 pieces. The principal stood at center court. He waited until everyone sat down. Then he began. I want to talk to you about integrity. His eyes didn't meet mine, but every word felt aimed directly at me. He talked about honesty, rules, academic standards,
cheating,
consequences. Then came the part that made my hands tighten into fists. Some of you may have heard rumors about students being unfairly targeted. A murmur moved through the bleachers. Let me be clear. He paused. Every action this administration has taken has been in service of protecting the integrity of this school. I looked around. Students were exchanging glances. Then Diego stood. What about the students you accused who didn't do anything wrong? Silence. The principal looked at him. If you have a concern, you're welcome to schedule a meeting. This isn't the time. Diego shook his head. Then when is? A few students clapped. The principal raised one hand. The gym fell silent. Sit down. Diego eventually did. The principal finished his speech, but everyone understood what it really was. A warning. By lunch, the group chat was exploding. The principal had started calling parents. Students were being summoned to his office. He was telling families that their children were involved with a disruptive student. My name. Again. And again. And again. Theo got pulled into his office. When he came back, his face was pale. He called my mom. What did he say? That I'm involving myself in things that don't concern me. Bianca looked furious. He's going after everyone. And he was. Wesley posted an email from the principal to his parents. Lena shared a voicemail. The principal was threatening college recommendations, academic standing, extracurricular opportunities, anything he could use. For a few hours, it worked. People started leaving the group chat. Then something changed. For every person who left, 2 more joined. Priya posted, I'm not deleting my statement. Diego replied, same. Bianca added, my brother's emails are already with the district. He can't undo that. I stared at the screen. The principal had made one mistake. He thought fear would isolate us. Instead, it united us. That evening, Miss Okafor texted me. District received the complaint. They're opening an investigation. I read it twice. Then showed my mom. She hugged me. I'm proud of you. The next morning, a woman in a charcoal suit arrived at school. By second period, everyone knew. District investigator. Ms. Reynolds. Miss Okafor found me between classes. They're interviewing witnesses today. What should I say? Everything. She looked me directly in the eyes. Don't exaggerate. Don't hold anything back. When my name came over the intercom, I walked to the conference room. Ms. Reynolds introduced herself. She opened her notebook. Let's start with the SAT. I told her everything. The proctor, the principal, the torn answer sheet, the accusation, the way he'd ordered me out. She listened without interrupting. Then she asked, did anyone else witness this? 40 students. Did the proctor intervene? She tried. What happened? He told her to stay out of it. Ms. Reynolds wrote that down. Then she looked up. I've reviewed the other statements. My heart started pounding. Several mention a pattern. She paused. Do you believe those accounts are accurate? Yes. Why? Because I've seen it. I swallowed. And because people who don't even know me came forward. She closed her notebook. This investigation could take weeks. Then she warned me about retaliation. If anything happens, report it immediately. I nodded. When I walked back into the hallway, Bianca was waiting. How'd it go? Fine. She hesitated. I need to show you something. We stepped into an empty classroom. She pulled out her phone. Ms. Pruitt accidentally left her phone recording after class yesterday. She pressed play. At first, all I heard was muffled movement.
A door.
Footsteps. Then the principal's voice.
Clear. Sharp.
I don't care what the district says. That kid doesn't belong in honors classes. I froze. Another teacher responded. He earned his spot. He's a distraction. The principal's voice grew louder. He's turning students against this administration. Then came the sentence that made my stomach drop. And now we've got an investigator crawling through our records because of him. Bianca stopped the recording. He admitted it. I stared at the phone. Who was the teacher? Mr. Hale. She swallowed. He's sending the recording to the district. We didn't even have time to decide what to do with it, because someone else already had. By the end of the day, the recording was everywhere. The group chat, parents' phones, social media, then local news. That night, my mom showed me the headline. Principal under investigation after audio surfaces. For the first time, the story wasn't just inside our school anymore. It was outside, and the principal couldn't control it. Thursday morning, he didn't show up. Friday, students were still being interviewed. Then Friday afternoon, Nora texted me, "Meet me in the back stairwell." I found her sitting on the bottom step. She was holding her phone. Her eyes were fixed on the floor. I wrote a statement. About what? She looked up. About him. She handed me the phone. 3 pages. Years of control.
Threats.
Manipulation. Warnings. How he'd told her she couldn't date me. How he'd threatened anyone who got close to me. I looked at her. You're really submitting this? She nodded. He's my father. Her voice cracked. But he's wrong. She stood. And I'm not going to let him decide who I get to be. Then she squeezed my hand, the same way she had in the gym, and walked away. Her statement reached the district Saturday morning. By Monday, everything changed. Parents packed the district office. The school board scheduled an emergency meeting. The news ran another story. And then Tuesday morning, the superintendent walked through our school's front doors. 20 minutes later, Theo sent one message. He's packing. Then came a photo. The principal stood outside his office. Cardboard box in his hands. Tie loosened. Face red. 2 district officials beside him. I stared at the photo. The man who had torn my future apart was finally being escorted out.
By lunchtime, everyone had seen the photo. The cafeteria was louder than I'd ever heard it. Students were talking over each other. Teachers were whispering. Then the vice principal stepped onto the intercom. The principal has been placed on administrative leave pending the investigation. The cafeteria erupted. People cheered. Tables shook. Someone threw a napkin into the air. Teachers tried to restore order, but even they looked relieved. Theo sat across from me. News vans are outside. I looked toward the windows. 3 vans were parked near the entrance. What are they saying? Everything. He smiled. Parents are talking. Students are talking. Then his expression softened. It's over. I wasn't sure. Not yet. Because there was one person I hadn't seen. Nora. I found her after school in the back stairwell. Same bottom step. Same quiet corner. She looked exhausted. You okay? I should feel better. She stared at her hands. But I don't. Why? He's still my dad. Her voice cracked. He's awful. He deserved what happened. But he's still my dad. I sat beside her. You didn't do this. She nodded. I know. But she didn't look convinced. We sat there until the custodian started turning off the lights. The district sent an email that afternoon. The investigation was continuing. The principal was officially on administrative leave. An independent committee would review student conduct cases and testing irregularities. Then I saw the final paragraph. Students affected by irregularities in testing administration should contact the district office to discuss remediation options. My mom looked at me. That's you. I knew. The next morning, I called. Ms. Reynolds answered. I got the email about remediation. Good, she said. I was hoping you'd call. There was a pause. Then I heard papers moving. The district has reviewed your case. My heart started pounding. Given the circumstances, we're prepared to reinstate your SAT registration. I sat up straighter. You'll receive a private retake. Where? The district office. Neutral proctor? Absolutely. When? 2 weeks from Saturday. 2 weeks. 4 months of preparation had been destroyed in seconds. Now I had another chance. Not because the principal gave it to me, because we fought for it. The next 2 weeks felt strange. The school was different without him. Lighter. Teachers smiled more. Students stayed in the hallways longer. The vice principal, Dr. Allison, walked around every morning asking students how they were doing. She didn't make speeches. She didn't promise miracles. She just showed up. Nora, and I still couldn't act completely normal. Too much had happened. But we texted every night. Sometimes we talked about her father. Sometimes about school. Sometimes about absolutely nothing. And somehow, the nothing felt the best. It meant our lives were slowly becoming ours again. Then the retake arrived. Saturday morning. My mom drove me to the district office. The building was almost empty. Ms. Reynolds met us in the lobby. She led me upstairs. A gray-haired proctor sat waiting inside a small conference room. He handed me the test booklet, explained the rules, then left me alone. No principal, no accusations, no shouting. Just me, a pencil, and the test I'd been denied the first time. I turned the page and started. For the next few hours, there was only silence.